Okay, I think we got the sound issue figured out, and the amount of time that took to figure that out. All the pups have had their power nap, and so they're back in business. So that's a good thing. They're actually all hanging out by my feet. I tried so hard to get them to stay asleep by my feet. And they all wanted to have a nap at the edge over here. And now that they're awake, they're all hanging out with me. So I like that. I'll take hangout time with puppies. Got a few more clouds that have come in. So it's time to give you the up close view of all the pups. So I'm just gonna start at the top of our list, Miss Purple. She, let me see, I gotta get more in line with the camera here. And I'm looking on my phone screen to see what the GoPro sees. I want you guys to have a good shot of everything and the sunshine and shadows. I think we're good. I like that. So at birth, Miss Purple, she was 0.94 pounds. Right now she's 6.3 pounds. So she is the smallest out of the girls, and just right there at the small end of the spectrum for this litter. But I have to say, normal pups at 5 weeks old can be anywhere from 4.5 to 6.5 pounds. So at 6.3 pounds, being small for this litter, she is actually on the high side of average. So she is not a small pup. So these pups they've got their second wind after their power nap. So be prepared that they may want to jump out of my hands for this, because they're ready to keep playing. Some of them are starting to settle down again at my feet. But anyways, Miss Purple here, we've looked her over again. We're not seeing any new markings on fur. I'll use her as an example. As these pups grow, it's like their skin grows, but their coat density does not. So they just get a lighter coat density on their undercarriage. So this whole area, their markings are not as visible as they used to be, especially down in the groin area. They're pretty much bald from their belly button down. And so Miss Purple here, she started out solid. We thought she'd be solid, and now that we're seeing things, sometimes we can see new markings on toes because their toe hairs are slightly longer than before. And she might have just the slightest couple of white toe hairs on some of her toes, but not a heavily marked foot by any stretch. So she's essentially a solid pup from what we can tell at this point. And personality wise, I would say she's slightly more reserved than some of the other pups. Not the bottom of the totem pole, but not as confident as some of the other pups. So she's comfortable with us being with our handling of her, things like that, new environments and things like that. She's still getting her own set of confidence with a lot of things. So slightly reserved, and that is Miss Purple. Next we've got Miss Teal, and she is just walking away from me. Let me go track her down. Hello, Miss Teal. I know you wanted to lay down and take a little nap, but you got to be the star of the show for a minute. So Miss Teal, she was 1.36 pounds when we weighed her at birth, and currently she's 8.53 pounds. She is just a big pup. Overall, she's big. She's the biggest out of all these pups, and just a big girl. So we expect her to continue to be a big full-size female at maturity. And at birth, we noticed that she appeared to be solid at the time. We're not seeing any new markings or any new indications that would lead us to believe otherwise with any of her markings. And so personality-wise, Miss Teal, sweetheart, she's a middle of the road personality. So we kind of categorize the pups into 3 classes, kind of upper end of the totem pole, middle of the totem pole, and lower end of the totem pole as far as like confidence, assertiveness. Some are a little bit more reserved or timid at the moment, not as assertive. They let the other pups lead out, and then they kind of follow. So some pups are followers, some are leaders. Miss Teal, she is a middle of the road pup. So next we've got Miss Yellow, and she's right at my feet, taking a little nap at the moment. She's fallen back asleep. So Miss Yellow here, she was 1.19 pounds. Right now she's 7.34. And we noticed she had the very light dot on her chest. Right now with her coat density level that it's at, it's actually really hard to see that light dot. I have to look pretty hard to see a few light hairs there, and make that out still. So it's almost not there, but she does have the heavily marked back left, back right toes. So she's got some fun Cinderella stockings, Cinderella slippers on her stocking toes, her feet there. Miss Yellow, I will say Miss Yellow and Miss Dark Pink are kind of at the top end of the totem pole as far as confidence levels. They're kind of leading out in several ways. You saw that with their playtime up on the hill. They were some of the first ones to venture out and things like that. So Miss Yellow, she's at the top end of the totem pole for the litters, and but kind of tied right there with Dark Pink. So good fun, beautiful pup. Next we've got Light Pink, and she is, where did she go? Right underneath me, straight below me. So Light Pink was 1.12 pounds. Now she's 6.72 pounds. And she had the marking across her chest that was kind of the big T. So if I scoot her ribbon to the side, you can see that there. She had a very lightly marked groin. That's very hard to discern at this point. Their coat density is really low down there, so it's hard to see that small of a marking at this point. I'm not seeing anything on toes that's new. So she's got her bold chest marking. It's fun to see that. And then her personality, she's more of a middle of the road pup as well. And so next we are on to Dark Pink. So Dark Pink, let me see a Dark Pink. She was just trying to lay down for a break. And so Dark Pink, she was 1.16 pounds. Right now she's 7.09 pounds. And she had the chest marking. I'll tip her head up. You can see that it's not as vibrantly marked as some of the others, but she has the piece of her marking goes across there and then down there, and she's a kisser. Loves to give her kisses, huh? So that's her markings. I'm not seeing any new markings on toes or anything like that. So that's her current markings. Disposition wise, she's right up there with Yellow on the confidence scale. One difference between her and Yellow is I think Dark Pink here, I think she's a little bit of a mama's girl. She talks to us a little bit more when mama's not around, and she starts to look for comfort. You know, where's her comfort zone? And that used to be mama. So she's still finding her space, her independence levels from mama, but it's coming quickly, but it's still there a little bit. She just talks to us and says, "Where's mama?" So a little bit of a mama's girl, and that is dark pink. So that wraps up the girls. Next we're on to the boys. And Black, Mr. Black, he is up. So Black, he was 1.03 pounds. Right now he's 6.63. And he had the chest marking. That was fun. It's kind of comes down both sides of the calic there. And he had the slightly marked groin. Hard to see that right now, but there are a few noticeable hairs that I can see there. Across his toes, I'm not seeing anything new. Across his toes. Personality-wise, I would call Mr. Black the bottom of the totem pole in this litter. So Mr. Black consistently is a little bit more reserved. He's the last one to venture out. You notice that here today in the playtime video. And I'm glad he demonstrated that here today, because we've seen that in other scenarios. Excuse me. My allergies are starting to kick up. Everything around here is covered in a green layer of dust with all the pollen from the trees. So apologize if I sniffle or cough a little bit. Mr. Black, he's the last one to venture out. He does venture out eventually. He just takes a little bit more time to find his comfort zone. He looks to the other pups for their confidence, for him to feel safe in doing new things. And so he's a sweetie. He's a sweetheart though. Loves to cuddle. He loves to hang out close to me. In many respects, that reservation level that he has lends him to be a little bit more tighter around, ranges less in the distance that he's comfortable to range out, things like that. So a little bit standoffish with new experiences, but he does eventually warm up so far. So he'll just need a gentle hand with his training approach, and he should do well. So that is Mr. Black. Next we've got Dark Blue. And where's he at? He's right underneath by the foot of the chair, if I can pick him up. So at the moment, our greenhouse plastic is really flapping in the wind, making the pups think twice about everything. They're kind of looking around wondering what's going on. So Dark Blue, he was 1.14 pounds. He's currently 7.76. So he's on the upper edge of normal as well. And I'm going to show you his spot on his head. I thought that was a stain from a Sharpie marker. I'm pretty convinced right now that it's not. If it does go away, somebody needs to report back and say it was a Sharpie marker, it just took forever to wear off. I just have never seen Sharpie markers leave a mark for that long. So Dark Blue's got the head dark spot of fur, unique form there. And then he's got very lightly marked groin. I can see a few of those hairs. His back right toes, I do see some light hairs across his back toes. Those might be hard to see in the camera. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few. It's just very lightly frosted. And then for Mr. Dark Blue, he is one of the more confident ones out of the boys. I would say Dark Blue and Mr. Green are neck and neck as far as leading the pack for the boys in their confidence levels. So Dark Blue, he's pretty adventurous. I do want to say that between Green and Dark Blue, I'd say Dark Blue is a little bit more of the mama's boy between the two, kind of like Dark Pink. He talks to us a little bit when he says he wants his mama, or he's looking for some direction. You know, he feels a little bit lost with something new, or if there's some new startling something or other, he's just slightly more reserved than Mr. Green. So that's Mr. Dark Blue. Next we've got Light Blue, and he is fast asleep. He has not budged for a few minutes here. I'm gonna slide him by his feet a little bit closer to me. So come here, Light Blue. Come on. Your turn to shine in front of the camera. He's got some shavings on his lip from laying right down on the shavings. So this is Mr. Light Blue. He was 1.16 pounds. Right now is 8.02 pounds. So out of the boys, Light Blue, he's the big boy out of the bunch. So he's a good size male for sure. He has his chest marking. I can see that from me looking down at that chest mark. It's a little bit right of center. I'm just looking at my phone screen and just trying to find a shot that there's the sunshine coming through here and the glare across the fur. That might be kind of hard to see unless you zoom in or something. But he still does have that chest mark. It's just not a real vibrant white marking. So we did notice he had the marked groin. I can see a few hairs around his groin, and right now on toes, not really seeing anything new on toe markings. Personality wise, Mr. Light Blue, he's a middle of the road pup. So not the most confident one, but he's not the shyest one either. He's not afraid to throw his weight around, but oftentimes he will take the back seat in some of the wrestling matches, things like that. So he's a middle of the road pup. Okay, Mr. Red, where are you? Where did you fall asleep? Right over here. So Mr. Red coming up next, and he was fast asleep. I might just get a video of these pups side by side to show you coat color differences between them. They're all sorts of dusty shavings right now. They've been playing while I was figuring out that sound problem, and they got dust everywhere. So Mr. Red, he was 1.05 pounds. Right now he's 7.01, and he had the more vibrant chest marking, a little bit right of center. I'm sure you can see that stand out a little bit more. And he had the right side, little lighter patch of fur. I'm glad the sunshine is out. I think it's not as vibrantly different as it used to be. I might have to move his fur. So that white patch of fur is right at my pinky right now. So depending on where his fur is in light and what kind of gloss there is, the sheen of their coat, you have to kind of move that around to see that in the camera, I believe. So not very defined little lighter patch right there at all. Personality wise, Mr. Red, he is a middle of the road pup. And next we're on to Mr. Green. And he is right down a little bit ahead of me. I'll try not to bump the camera as I lean forward. So Mr. Green here, he was 0.94 pounds. He's 7.12 pounds. And he had, he's still clear on his chest, not noticing anything new there. He was very slightly marked around his groin. Honestly, I have to look really hard to find any light hairs there. He did have slightly marked back left toes. Those are obvious when you're looking up close, but from the camera I can probably say you may not even be able to see those because there's not a lot of white hairs on that toe, but you can see them. And then I'm not noticing anything new on the front toes. It's got a little shavings whisker. Pull that out. So Mr. Green, like I mentioned earlier with dark blue, he's pretty confident. I don't know if you saw him take that flying leap in the playtime video, but that takes some confidence for a pup to see a brand new ledge and just launch and go for it. So that was a big jump for a little guy his size. And so that would be the equivalent of me jumping off of a stepladder in my living room. And so so that takes some guts. He's got some adventure in him for sure. So he's got some confidence. And next we've got Mr. Gray coming up. And he is also right here near my feet. So Mr. Gray, he was 1.14 pounds, or is that 9? I can't read my writing. 1.14 or 1.19 pounds. Right now he's 7.49 pounds. And he had the chest marking, a little bit more vibrant. And definitely a more bold color. It's easily seen in this lighting for the camera. He had a very lightly marked groin. I can see a few of those hairs with this coat density. I'm not really seeing anything new on back toes. Not really seeing anything new on front toes. Personality-wise, Mr. Gray, he's middle of the road. They all get in their fair share of wrestling matches, and we see that with Mr. Gray. But he doesn't necessarily just throw his weight around every single time. He gives in. He gives out as much as he takes it sometimes. So that's Mr. Gray. Next, we've got Mr. Orange coming up. He's right below my nose, right here. So this is Mr. Orange, and he is 1.05 pounds. He is was 1.05 pounds. He's currently 6.54 pounds. He had the large marking on his chest. With this coat density, it's not as vibrant as some of the others to see it all the way in all of the defined areas. But this part of that marking is quite vibrant. A lot of contrast there with that one. He also had the groin marking. I can see that with this coat density. He had the heavily marked back left foot. That's definitely obvious right now. He has a very lightly frosted couple of toes on his back right foot. And right now with this coat density, I am seeing just a few light hairs around his toenails on his front feet. So that's his markings. Mr. Orange, he's a kisser. You can see him snuggling. And he is also a middle of the road pup. So he wants to go back to sleep. He's like trying to huddle into me and say, hold me still and let me go back to sleep. So another middle of the road pup, and all of these little rascals have pretty well gone down for the count. Before, they had played and played, and every time I moved them, they would get up and move again. I've got Mr. Blue way over there, but everybody else, I think, has just collected right here at my feet. If I'm lucky, I'm gonna try again and back my chair up without setting it on anybody. Move my feet. Some of the pups are using my feet as a pillow, so I've got to move my feet gently. And I'm gonna go get Mr. Blue. Dark Blue is over here, but I think if I bring him back to the crowd, he'll stay put. Orange followed me over there. And try to let you see these pups side by side. Right now they want to lay on their side because they're warm. So they like to lay on their side, expose their bellies for cooling off. So it's going to be hard to make them lay on their stomach and let you see their back. Their coat colors are pretty consistent. I'm not seeing a wide range of difference between these pups. You'll have to go back to their birth introduction video. That's going to give you a better idea for some of their adult coat color differences that you can expect to see, because their newborn coat has some of the color composition that their adult coat is going to have, and this toddler coat that they're in right now just has a different density feel to it, and none of the undercoat still. It's just barely starting to grow in. So I do want to mention light blue. His coat is filling in nicely where the hair was quite thin. It is the darker color. I'm thinking that is going to be more of what his adult coat color comes in like, because this is kind of brand new fur, and his toddler coat will eventually go away and new fur will come in, and I'm thinking it might be more that color. So, but that's this group of 12 pups. Happy to share with you their playtime video. That was a great video to let you see them kind of uncut with a new experience for all of them, and see some of their personality differences. Orange, you just want some snuggles, don't you? He says, if I'm going back to sleep, you're gonna have to rock me to sleep. Otherwise, I'm not going back to sleep. So he's gonna say, he knows he can get spoiled right now. There's no competition for my attention. So he says, I can just get all the love. Oh yeah, you like that spot for a scratch, huh? Oh yeah, is that getting right there? Good boy. Good boy, yeah, good boy. So, happy to share this kind of selection video with you. Let me know if you have other questions about any of these individual pups, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. So we'll get this processed and uploaded, and then start following up with everybody. Thanks for watching.